Hello everyone, I am Laila Tasmia, a Bangladeshi woman living in her 30s with many identities. I am a professional working for sustainable development, but sometimes I'm also a social worker and sometimes a traveler. One of my passionate areas of work and interest is migration and development. So, I have just started an initiative which is called Bangladeshis on the Move. This will be mainly a space to bring the stories of Bangladeshis who are on the move. So it could be about the Bangladeshis who are currently living abroad, working or studying, and have settled there, maybe. It could also be the Bangladeshis who have returned to Bangladesh, like me, and trying to survive here or trying to give back to the community. Right now, I'm trying to bring all these stories to other Bangladeshis and to international communities so that they can realize how diversified the Bangladeshis are. So here I have with me Sarzah Yeasmin. She is born in Bangladesh and moved to United States in 2013. She holds a master's degree in international education policy from Harvard University and earned her bachelor's degree from Mount Holyoke College in Massachusetts, double majoring in economics and political science. She is an education and policy researcher by profession. So here I am with Sarzah, and let's see how Sarzah's journey was. So, hi Sarzah, very nice to meet you, and thank you so much for agreeing to be my first ever guest in my podcast, which is on Bangladeshi women on the move, education, identity, and career. I must say that I was very inspired when I saw your growth. I remember that we were kind of Facebook friends like maybe 10 years ago, but somehow we didn't meet. But when I met you a couple of days ago, it just like revived all my memories and my memories of thesis, realization of women diaspora, and then I thought, okay, I should start my podcast with you.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Laila, and happy early birthday. I'm very honored to be part of this podcast. So, throughout my life, both personally and professionally, I work with communities at the very grassroots level. I have been a public policy researcher, I have been a development professional. So, I've worn many hats. So that's how I would like to be known.
But you were born in Bangladesh, right?
Yes.
So if you can just give me some insights of your journey, like especially like what is your profile like,
Yes,
like throughout like
absolutely.
education and career?
Yes. Um, it's really interesting because my journey was very roundabout and it's a bit non-traditional. I wouldn't say that I was a star student ever. Uh, but I think that's also a story of hope for a lot of average students like myself. So yes, I was born in Dhaka in the 90s, early 90s. And I had done my O levels and A levels under British examination board, and after that, I had moved to the U.S. as a F1 student.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I've always thought about studying abroad.
Mm-hmm.
My educational orientation was very um, world centric.
Mm-hmm.
I was studying about world history, world geography, growing up watching, TV shows from different countries. So I had that sort of like cosmopolitan mindset. But my journey took a very unexpected turn. The skill set that I had in Bangladesh, even though I went to English medium school, that skill set was not enough to allow me to succeed in an American education system.
Really?
Yes. What happened after I moved to the US, I had to attend seminar courses. So, seminar courses are basically mandatory and common for all incoming students. And one of the first texts I remember I had to read was Gilgamesh. It's this Mesopotamian epic poem, and one of the oldest surviving work of literature. Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, which is modern day Iraq. And this Gilgamesh was 2/3 God, 1/3 human. And coming from a Muslim upbringing, reading such things, it was in many ways astounding. And I was very flabbergasted because students in my class were very interested and they were talking about this, and I did not know what this meant. And the reason why I say all of this, and I'm going to tie it back to the question, making an argument is something that we are not taught in our education system. We are passive receptors of lectures, of knowledge. There's one-way transfer from the teacher to the student. We're not used to having a conversation. But as I step into that American classroom, I'm expected to talk. I'm expected to have a voice. I'm expected to have thoughts on things that I think are very mundane. But yet, students are very interested and animated and energetic, and they're talking about those things. So this transition was extremely difficult because this is something that I had not been taught. This is about pedagogy. This is about way of learning, not just knowledge. I can memorize, I can take tests. That's what I was taught in my school life. But as I move on to a more versatile education system, that way of learning was very challenging.
You know, it reminds me also my master's journey, because it feels like you were kind of in a shock, like an academic shock, where with the academic culture is totally different than your country of origin. It was also for me. Like I remember I studied like introduction to economics in my bachelor's, but when I was studying my master's, I had to have like an extra course from the bachelor's on the introduction to economics, because the module that we had in my bachelor's was not enough. And there I saw that, I remember when I am in my dorm after the class, I had a lot of notes and I went to YouTube just to understand what is the meaning of those terms.
Right.
And then again go back to my lecture and just see like, okay, now what the theory and the mathematics and everything that they have shared. And I again went to YouTube just to understand what is the method. So it was like a double, triple effort from me than like other German students. So I can totally like relate to that. There is where the connection begins, right? Like being a Bangladeshi woman abroad, right? So did you also had like any kind of cultural shock there?
Oh, absolutely. All the time. I wouldn't talk about the very sensitive ones because they might just pertain to my case, perhaps. But food was a very big issue. And I would, food is part of our culture, eating with hand, having spices, not having certain things. So food was a big struggle. I remember going to sleep hungry and sometimes even crying my first semester because I was still trying to get used to
with
American food, which is basically very bland. Talking about cultural shocks, different type of accents. We speak a different kind of English over here in Bangladesh versus, there are so many different dialects in the US. There is a Southern accent, there is the Boston accent, and it was just a blend of different kinds of English. And I remember there's a thing called office hour. We don't have that in Bangladesh. I don't know if we have it in Bangladesh right now or not, but we did not during my time. So office hour is a time that you go and meet with your professor to discuss your progress, discuss your problems. As a student who did majors in economics and political science, I did a double majors, but I also studied biology. So I went to the professor's office hour and I said, "Can you please change the way you talk?" he would put English in his mouth when he would say something, and it was really difficult for me to understand what he said. I ended up with a C plus in my biology. That's the first C plus of my life. So, and also the first grade on my transcript. If you look at my transcript, I have a C plus. So and he said, well, but I can't really change the way I talk.
Oh God.
So, I mean, these are some of the things that I encountered. And then, speaking about cultural shock, at least up until my third year, I did not know that networking is very important. How you dress up and how you talk, and you go to different events and you meet with the alumni who are in the same field that you aspire to enter after your graduation. You have to meet with people. This is part of your social capital, right? You're building a social network. I did not go with so much goal orientation when I was going, right? And I remember that, coffee culture is a very big thing in the US. And growing up, I didn't really drink coffee or know much about coffee. And once I went to a shop, and I was doing an internship in Washington, D.C. I was working for the Department of Labor over there. And there was an alumni that I had to network with and go and meet with her at a coffee shop. And this was an unpaid internship. Especially in the public sector, people who are interested in working for the government, they do public policy related internships while they're in university. So I did my networking, I did my internship, I was doing whatever it takes to build up my resume as an international student so that I can secure a job right after I graduate. So I went on that, networking meeting. There was one thing on the menu. It's called espresso shot.
Okay.
I had never heard of what espresso shot is, but I saw $2, and I was very happy that as a poor student, finally I can comfortably afford something. So I ordered espresso shot, and the person that I'm meeting, she ordered something else. And as soon as I poured one sip into my mouth and my throat and my entire face was on fire.
Oh my God.
You're talking about cultural shock. I'm talking about physical shock over here. I was really shocked to the very core. But like a lot of migrants, your entire being might be on fire, but you still have to put a smile on your face. And I just, kept on having the conversation with the alumni because, I was interested in learning more about the field that she was working in. And I wanted to be respectful, but that's my first experience of espresso shot.
Yeah, but it also brings the attention to the fact how migrants try to adapt with the new culture.
Yes.
Whether it's through the food, whether it's through the career, whether it's through the academic shock and everything. But what about your interaction with the other Bangladeshis abroad? How was the experience?
I will be honest, I didn't really have the chance or the space to connect with other Bangladeshis at a deeper level.
Interesting.
I mean, I would say in the past 2 years, because I was working on a Bangladesh related project, that's when I had the opportunity to meet with, incredible Bangladeshis. And I would say that there are a lot of hardworking and determined Bangladeshis who are great professionals. And I have utmost respect for their trade and skills and research. And I think more and more Bangladeshis and Bangladeshi Americans are doing a lot of great mainstream work. In terms of showcasing, I think what happens with Bangladeshi identity in the US is that it's very subdued. It's not as salient because the geopolitical situation is very different now as well, right? As we move from Bangladesh to the US, we are not seen as Bangladeshis, we're seen as people of color. We are seen as South Asians. Some of us are Muslims, we're Buddhists, we're Hindus. So that diversity is also missed. We just become person of color, right? So a lot of the times when we do showcase our work, I think the Bangladeshi identity doesn't really get highlighted as much, especially in American academia, is not as salient. Because as soon as you enter that American social fabric, you become a person of color. You'd see there are many Indian students, Pakistani students, even within the South Asian identity, the Bangladeshi identity is a minority identity.
Okay. Wow, yeah. I mean, I really loved how you talked about the people of color and the identities there. So, can you tell me more about like your identity itself, like being a Bangladeshi woman in US?
Absolutely. I think there are so many. You know, when we talk about identity, I think about Kimberly Crenshaw's concept of intersectionality. I don't think we can ever be one thing at one point in time. I think we are so many things, right? Bangladeshi, Bengali, woman, lower middle class, English medium, private elite school, privileged poor, Muslim, brown, person of color, a person who doesn't fit into the black white dichotomy, right? Non American, international. So there are many things that come into play when we think about identity.
How was about other Bangladeshis you were interacting on that time?
So the school that I had gone to in the beginning didn't really have a big Bangladeshi population. The Bangladeshi community sometimes organized different events related to Bangladesh, catering to the local Bangladeshi community and in and around Massachusetts. But these are just limited to one-off events. It's not something, systemic. So I wouldn't say that the support system for Bangladeshis is very strong. It's not. I think a lot of times you are on your own. And I think that's the mindset that you need to prepare yourself with when you are moving somewhere else, is that you are going to have to be on your own, regardless of how strong the community ties might be in that host community. And I think it's also important to get to know the host community. I understand that the Bangladeshi identity will always be a part of me, but then again, I'm somewhere else. So in order to really understand the host community, I need to be able to develop that language to be able to communicate and navigate their way of life. But then again, there's a bit of a contrast over here. American way of life is not monolithic. America is different if you go to Georgia, if you go to California, south part of California, the north part of California, the northeast, middle of the country. If you're in a urban setting versus a rural setting, it's just going to be very different. So I mean, it depends on where you are going and what situation you're migrating into. That's just going to determine the trajectory of what your migrant experience or journey would look like.
Amazing, amazing. And you put a lot of focus on different facts. Okay, now I really want to hear from you about your identity as a Bangladeshi woman there in the diaspora scenario. But I want to hear like one positive benefit that you think you got when you were there as a Bangladeshi woman or a women migrant. And you can tell about one challenge that you face when you think about being like a Bangladeshi woman or women migrant. I mean, there might be a lot of positive benefits you could get, or maybe you had a lot of challenges, but if you can think like one of each,
Sure.
I really want to hear.
Yeah. So I think being a Bangladeshi woman is being so many things all together. It gives you a multidimensional perspective about other people as well, because you grow up in a country seeing poverty, but you also grow up around a lot of love. there's a lot of aspirational capital here as well. You grow up with a lot of dreams as well. There is deficit, but there's also so much abundance, and you take both of those with you wherever you go in the world, right? You have your, very multidimensional worldview. One tangible benefit of being a woman migrant has been the ability to go to a women's college. I think a lot of Bangladeshis are not aware of these really amazing and very strong private elite liberal arts colleges in the US that are just for women, and they're gender diverse as well. And they provide very generous scholarship, and I've been the recipient of such generous scholarship, and I don't think it would be possible for me to study abroad without this type of financial help from the colleges. So I think that was in many ways life-changing for me. And you asked about one disadvantage of being a woman migrant. I think in the recent years, the cases of domestic violence against women has gone up, and the immigrant communities in the US are not immune to this problem. I think it's a worldwide phenomenon, but we see a prevalence in many immigrant communities, including the Bangladeshi community as well. And after I graduated, I used to work for a law firm in New York City, and New York City has one of the largest Bangladeshi migrant population in the diaspora. So in many ways, working with the Bangladeshi community over there, with the Bangladeshi women over there, was very eye-opening. We have really strong Bangladeshi leaders, women leaders, organizers in New York City, but we also have women who are struggling day to day to survive, either due to issues with language access or finances or lack of access in general, because it's really important that you have the support system and the social network when you're trying to navigate a new place.
Yeah, I really liked how you put both of the aspects. Like as a migrant, you have some good experiences. As a diaspora, you have some good experiences on, and also there is a struggling side of women diaspora, and I liked it because I see that Bangladeshi women diaspora is somehow stereotyped in one identity or the other based on your own bubble. Like if my bubble is only being with the privileged and elite women diaspora, I will think like, okay, Bangladeshi women are only like this. And if my bubble is something else, then I will think, okay, the Bangladeshi women are only having the bad experiences. But it is like both of these areas are true. But there is one thing that for last 1-2 decade, I think in Bangladesh and also all over the world, a lot of advocacy efforts have been taken on the issue of STEM or STEAM sector, where women are encouraged to be here, to be a scientific researcher, to be in the technology, to be in the science. What is your experience as a Bangladeshi women diaspora in US? Have you seen a lot of women in this sector, like Bangladeshi women, or is it like very less?
I think I've seen more Indian and Pakistani women, but I've also seen some very talented Bangladeshi women in this sector as well. And I think it's more now than before. And I think women of color in general are paving path for other young women to be part of this field. I myself am not in the field of technology or science. I'm a social science humanities person, but I do see up and coming women who are very interested, and they have all these opportunities, coding boot camps, research mentorships. But if I do speak specifically about the Bangladeshi community, I think the initiatives here are a bit lacking. And I wish that we had this mentoring culture where expert women or women who are established in their fields would mentor other young women who are still trying to find their academic and professional path.
Like one Bangladeshi woman, like a Bangladeshi diaspora is helping the other to be in this sector. That is kind of lacking, right?
Exactly. And I see that type of mentorship opportunities in many other spaces.
Okay.
And I hope that, Bangladeshi women or Bangladeshis in general can create the same space.
Yeah. So we are kind of end of my first podcast, and I'm so happy that I have discussed all this issue with you. But what is your recommendation for the Bangladeshi diaspora that is living in US? Like kind of like recommendation or kind of like your wish list for them, or anything that any message that you want to give them about the connection or being as a Bangladeshi diaspora?
Yeah, I think I don't have any tips or tricks. I think these are mostly pointers. There's no single template for how a migrant journey is. As I mentioned before, that, it really depends on the situation that you're migrating from and the situation or context that you're migrating into. So it's really important that we ourselves determine what's valuable to us. The migrant journey is also a journey of loss. You're going to be losing a lot, either from where you're moving or experiencing loss where you are. But then you have to keep moving because it's on the move. I don't believe in toxic positivity, but I do believe in resilience. That regardless of what we encounter, we keep moving. So it's not a wish list, but I suppose if I was in a position, if I was a member of the diaspora, I would want to know where I am. So it's really important that you ground yourself in the place where you are. So for example, if I'm in the US, let me know about US history. Let me know about geopolitics. If I'm in US academia, before entering school or college, read about what undergraduate life will look like in the US. Having an inner compass is really important. And at the end of the day, when we talk about dreams, that, I'm here to fulfill my dreams, ask yourself, is it your dream or is it someone else's dream?
Wow.
And there is a big opportunity cost for migrants. So always keep that in mind, that you're going to be losing something in order to get something, and if it's worth it or not.
Wow, I mean that's the thing actually. The main message of safe migration that the migration professionals always like to promote. Like if you are going for a migration, if you are deciding to migrate, you have to think about the opportunity cost. Don't take a decision just because someone is doing it. Don't take the decision just because of like, yeah, I want to showcase in my community in Bangladesh that I am somewhere else where I'm actually struggling because I didn't have enough researches beforehand. So that's a great message for the potential migrants who wants to be in US. But what about, do you have any closing remarks for the Bangladeshis that is living in US? Like, I know like off record, we are talking about like how there should be some kind of connection between them, right?
Yeah, I think people are trying to connect, but I think the connection needs to happen at a more organic level and at a more genuine level. Message for one, monolithic message for the entire community is very difficult, because being a Bangladeshi means so many different things. A Bangladeshi in a Silicon Valley has a very different experience than a Bangladeshi in a service sector job in New York City. So my message is, let's really try to connect with each other on a genuine level, regardless of our class background, and see, you know, how we can distribute resources, how we can uplift each other.
Yeah. We should uplift each other. I mean, that's why I think I started to think about this podcast and then trying to do it. But let's see. But I'm really thankful to you. And I always wanted to bring the stories as a storyteller, but I didn't know where to start. And when I just met you after like a decade, I thought, okay, this is the time. So thank you so much.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Being part of this. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how our audiences or listeners react.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to get any feedback.
Yeah. Any constructive feedback.
Constructive feedback, please.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we will be waiting for the next episode then. Until then, bye.
Bye.